Recording in.
Good morning and welcome to today's edition of Midweek Minutes. If you are a church member, earlier this week you should have received an email that contained a couple of attachments, a cover letter that looks like this, as well as a copy of our proposed budget for fiscal year 2022. That will go into effect on July 1st. And we will be presenting that to you in a discussion format on Sunday, June 27th. Let me call your attention to that email. For those of you who are receiving this, the midweek minutes go out to a much larger audience. If you are interested and would like to have a copy of our budget, feel free to reach out to us. We will drop you one in the mail. If you are a giver in particular, we'd love to let you know where your resources go. But because this budget proposal and the subsequent leadership roster, which will be forthcoming in the next few days, because that is a matter of church decision that'll be voted on, we are sending it at this point just out to our church members, and that'll be the group that receives the digital ballots that I'll talk about in just a moment. So for those of you who are church members, you received that. If you did not, please check your inbox. If by chance that did not go through, we do have copies available in the church office. We can certainly mail you one if you would like. But the church budget, the proposed budget for fiscal year 22, actually is the one in the highlighted column. It is highlighted in yellow. If you see it in color, I printed this off in black and white, so it's kind of just a gray shaded area. But that's the portion that you're voting on. There are a couple of things to highlight for you as noted in the cover letter, but let me hit them for you now. First of all, you'll note that the rental income has skyrocketed compared to previous years, and that is with the arrival of Montessori School of Oakton. We did not include that in last year's budget, even though they arrived partially into that last fiscal year. So it is there and reflected. There is also an additional line item in that first block that you'll see right here. And again, we highlight some information in that cover letter. Print those off and use that as a guide if you wish. But we have an estimate amount that they will be providing for us in utility supplement as well, that they will be paying in addition to their rent. We do have both primary renters lumped together, the Fairfax Spanish Seventh-day Adventist Church that meets on Saturdays here in our facility, as well as the Montessori School of Oakton. In addition to that are smaller rentals, someone needing to use the facility, a wedding, that kind of thing. We have certain fees, particularly for those who are not church members. We do make that the facility available. And so there's a little bit that is in addition to those two primary facility partners. And so that's reflected in that overall amount. We will, per your request in our most recent business meeting, make that information available and break that down. But for budget purposes and presenting that in as clean and as uncluttered a fashion as we can, we have lumped all of our rental partners together. So please make note of that. Also, please note that with the arrival of Montessori School of Oakton and your continued faithful stewardship, our budget proposal this year, when you look at the bottom line, it looks as though our receipts, both from giving and all giving designated, as well as regular giving, and of course the facility partners, that is going to far exceed what our anticipated expenses are. And you see that noted to the tune of just under, I believe, $46,000 on that. The very bottom of that last is a third page if you print it out on regular size paper. And you'll notice that as well. So we mentioned that too in that cover letter, and we just want to highlight that for you today. So otherwise, the budget looks fairly similar. There's a couple of things that we have reduced, a couple of things that have gone up just based on the cost of doing things. But pretty much it comes out, those things wash out, and our significant increase is based upon Montessori of Oakton's arrival. And we appreciate God blessing our church family with their presence. They've been a great resource and an opportunity to partner with our facilities and for our community as well in these last few months. And we look forward to the full year, this coming both fiscal year and, of course, the school year, hopefully, with some of these COVID regulations continued to be reduced, and we can get into more of a regular engagement, both academically in our community, as well as certainly in our congregational life. I want to highlight for you too, just a couple of things regarding the business meeting. I mentioned this over the last couple of weeks. Again, just to let you know that this is a call business meeting on the 27th, and there are only two items that we'll be discussing, and that is the church budget as well as the leadership roster. If you have a question connected to any of those, you have instructions in this email as well as that cover letter of how you can address those to us before the meeting. Those questions will be answered and discussed in the meeting so that we all can benefit from that, even if it's just a small thing. And you might get your question answered. Know that we're probably going to use that and say, hey, we had someone ask this question in case that's out there for somebody else. We want you to know this is the answer to that. So don't feel bad about dropping that off, either the church office, reaching out to the appropriate individuals that you see listed in this email. And we'll certainly answer those questions, if not before the meeting, during the meeting, for all to hear. And then the voting will be much like we did, matter of fact, exactly like we did last year, through an emailed ballot. The reason we're doing that, as I explained last week, is that we are wanting to offer a kind of a hybrid meeting, much like we did last month, where we have a live in-person meeting. It'll be in the sanctuary so that we can offer a live stream option for those who have yet to begin to regather for whatever reason. We know that there are a number of folks who still are not regathering, some related to medical, others have other issues and are not regathering yet at this point. And we want you to be able to hear and to participate in that discussion, at least in that way. However, as an incorporated entity in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we have to provide an equal opportunity ballot. We can't do a show of hands and then send us an email for some of you at home. They have to be done the same way. And we ran into that last year as something we learned through this pandemic reality. And so we thought the best way to do that and provide as broad an opportunity to hear and discuss and to listen to the answered questions and those kinds of things was to do a live stream and then to have everyone respond via email. Now, for those of you watching this, chances are you say, okay, that's no problem. Oh, but what about those who may not have email? There's only 2 or 3, and we made accommodations for them last year. What about those people who have a real hard time and need some assistance? Those accommodations, just like last year, will be made. If you fit in that category, know that we will assist you in doing that. That is why on Sunday afternoon or evening of the 27th, you will receive via email those ballots. And then you have until the end of the business day, 5 p.m. on the 30th of June, to make your vote known. There'll be 2 things to answer. Yes or no on the budget, yes or no on the leadership roster as presented. That'll give you time not only to submit questions before the meeting, participate in the meeting, whether online or, my encouragement, if at all possible, here in the church sanctuary. And then, of course, you have several days to digest that information and to make that decision prayerfully and carefully. Many of you will do it right away. Others might need that assistance, and we want to give you some time and to give us time to assist you and do that. So you have several days even after the business meeting to let that vote be heard. And again, further instructions will come with that email ballot. We'll give you some further instructions at the meeting, and even in next week's midweek minutes, we'll give you another reminder of how that is going to work. Well, it is good to see you today. Again, there's a lot that's going on, and that leadership roster will be in your inbox soon. There's a couple of things that we're tying up a few loose ends and putting it together in the package that'll be presented. Remember that our board of directors will not be filled out completely. That'll actually be comprised as individual committees select during the month of July their individual chairs. And there's several groups, all of our committees for that matter, who have a chairperson will go onto the board. That chairperson in that capacity will serve as that board representative. And so our first board meeting for the new church year will be in August after those committees are formed completely and they elect their chairs in July. So when you see that leadership roster, notice, hey, there's some names missing. There's just, chair of this, chair of that, chair of that. It just, who's that going to be? That is for that committee to decide. Otherwise, the other committees, other returning members of the board, at-large members that are voted by the congregation, those names will be on there. So you'll be getting that in the next few days, and next week's midweek minutes, I'll kind of walk you through that in more detail. So we hope to see you on Sunday, one way or the other. You know the drill. If you're not able to be here, go to our homepage, click the blue Watch Now button, and join us online. And most importantly, I encourage you to take the opportunity of this growing immunity that we have and the opportunity to gather for worship. It is Father's Day. We will not be having our fellowship hour, but hey, what a great time to be in the house of the Lord together. And we look forward to seeing you one way or the other, 11 o'clock. We'll see you then. Have a great rest of the week.